Okay. Hello, my name is Jeff, and I am apparently live. Yes, this is my first live stream, so please be gentle. Who knows how this is going to go? Who knows if you guys are even hearing me as I speak and will be able to hear all of these synthesizers and whatnot, but I will do my best. What I will also do is I will attempt to keep the live stream going over here, so in case you have any chat oh, hey, the Synthesizer Addict is live streaming. Hey, who knew? Um, my watch just told me that. Um, so if I see any chat messages or anything like that coming through, um, I'll see them on this screen over here. So yes, please do chime in with any questions, concerns, critiques, feedback. Any any information would be useful because this is a new experience for me. No retakes. Kind of scary. Let me make sure that I'm not on mute. I'm not on mute. That's always a good thing, right? All right, let me clip this over here. So, first of all, if you guys have not seen my recent cover of IQ's Leap of Faith, hop on over to my sister channel and check that out first because this video won't make a lot of sense until you've watched that one. I put that on my sister channel because any first of all of my one-man band videos have gone on that channel, and I've had that channel for oh gosh, I don't know, 8 years, something like that. Um, so I put all my one-man band videos on that channel. In addition, I'm trying to keep this channel, the Synthesizer Addict channel, sort of free of any potential copyright issues. So because it is a cover of another artist's song, sometimes I get dinged from YouTube for a copyright claim. So I've never had any strikes against that channel, but I don't want to take any chances. So I put that on that channel, and all of my synthesizer specific videos like this one will obviously go on this channel. So there were a lot of synths that I used in this video. A lot of real physical analog and digital synths, and some virtual synths as well. So I will kind of go through everything sort of from start to finish, starting with the very beginning. Um, you know the oh, gosh the sound used at the very beginning of the song. I'm just going to refresh my chat window and make sure that nobody's trying to hit me up on chat, and we'll kind of go from there. So let me see. Nothing. Doesn't look like there's any chats going on at the moment, so that's a good thing. But I will keep an eye on these, and if you guys tune in and say hi, fantastic. So at the beginning of the song, the original version, at least in the live versions that I've seen from around the time that the original came out, which is 1993, I believe, he used a Roland D50 for that sound. T being Martin Orford, IQ's keyboard player. My intention all along had been to use my Roland D50 as at least part of the sound. And as you'll see in a minute, I didn't end up using it, but that was my intention going in. Uh, but the recent keyboard players for IQ have used a piano sound instead. And in fact, I think Martin himself was using a piano sound. If you go to the Nearfest video that they put out, I don't know, circa 2005, something like that, he was using a actually really bad piano sound to start off the song. So to start off mine, the basis of that sound is a piano sound. It's the Best Instruments Galaxy D piano with a little bit of string sound built into it. So you can hear that. That sounds like So you can hear the strings very lightly in the background there, and it's fine. It's a nice piano sound. I've always enjoyed always enjoyed its sound. Always enjoyed using it. Has I don't know if you guys can hear that too well, but it has nice. You can hear the pedal sound as you press down and release. So it has some nice acoustic effects going on along with it. They did a nice job with it. But in and of itself, I thought that the sound it just needed more. It wasn't really true to the original, just doing a piano sound here. See, it's just kind of lacking, right? So as I was rehearsing this, I added in the UVI workstation. What do they call that plugin? Is it the D90? Hold on a second. Let me look it up on the old computer here. Where are we? Yes, that is the sound. And let me look up the plugin. Yeah, so it's the UVI workstation plugin, and this is D590, D590S, I guess they call it. And the particular patch that I used was called Dream Bells. Now, my intention all along had been to eventually go back and use the D50, but I ended up liking this sound so much I just kept it. So again, even though it's a preset, and I generally don't like to use presets, that's exactly what I did in this case. So you can hear that adds a nice little dimension to the sound. Fills it out a little bit, makes it cut through the mix a lot more. Uh, yeah, nice little sound, right? So again, this is all virtual. This is my for those folks who aren't familiar with my studio. This is a Kurzweil MIDI board, so this is just purely a controller. It doesn't have any built-in sounds to it whatsoever. So all of those sounds that you just heard came right out of the computer. They were all virtual. Um, and what I'll do, I haven't put any links in the description yet, but I'll uh, after we've streamed this video, I'll edit the description, and if you guys are interested, I will put in links for the UVI workstation plugin and the Best Instruments Galaxy D plugin. Again, disclaimer, I am not paid by any of these companies. These are all things that I bought with my own money. Not endorsed by anybody. So if you hear me use it and you hear me talk about it and you hear me say that I like it, it's because I actually like it and not because I'm being paid to like it. So that's the sound used in the beginning. From there, you'll see me move up. Actually, you don't see me move up because I didn't include that video footage in the song. But I move up to the Korg R3, and the R3 actually controls a whole bunch of different sounds in this video. So first, I do have the sound coming out of the Korg R3, which is again, it's a preset. I used more presets than I expected in this video. So this is the Bank E Patch 1 sound. This is just called Strings. So. So a decent little synth string sound, but nothing to write home about, certainly. Um, so obviously I needed to build that up a little bit. So what I did was I incorporated some sound from the Oberheim Matrix 1000. So let me unmute that guy, and hopefully he'll come in. So you can hear that's added a little bit more depth, a little bit more low end. It's kind of widened the sound a little bit. Boy, I'm just going to be fighting this thing all evening, aren't I? There we go. That should help. Um, so that's part of the sound. The other part is from my Korg M1. I don't know if you can see that in the shot. Hold on a second. Let me go back to my YouTube footage. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see it in this shot. But I have my Korg M1R, or EX M1R, so my expanded M1R. And I keep pointing to it as if you guys can see it. You probably cannot see it. But this is using the patch 23, just called Choir. So if I unmute him, where are you, M1? M1, there you go. So if I unmute him, we got... So suddenly that all becomes kind of a nice synthesized, choir and orchestra that sits in pretty nicely in the mix. Doesn't get in the way, but it also it maintains kind of a nice feel, and it's pretty true to the original as well. Although I don't think he uses the choir, at least in this part of the song, in the original. Did you hear that sound pretty consistently throughout the the beginning of the song? It sort of bounces back and forth between that and that. And then the section that comes after that is let me see, how does that go? Same sound. So from there, we go into the big instrumental section. That's the meat of the song, the real meat and potatoes of the song, and that's where I was originally intending to do this. That's the whole reason I thought about even doing this cover. I've loved this song for years and years, but really got me wanting to do a cover was I was playing with my relatively new at the time Novation Zyosynth, which I got last summer. I think it was last July when I got this. And let me see if I can get that in shot here without breaking anything. Yeah, sure. So that's this guy. And I was goofing around and realized that I could make a pretty darn convincing version of the solo sound in Leap of Faith. Although now that I listen to it, it really doesn't sound that much like it. But at the time, when I was goofing around, I thought it did. So what that sound is, that's a combination of two oscillators. The Zyosynth can do 3 oscillators. This sound is only using 2. It's using a square wave oscillator, and it's using a sawtooth at pretty much equal amplitudes. And that seemed to be the secret of the sound that Martin Orford used on the original track. Which is great, and I had every intention of using this, but then I just kind of looked up and I saw these wonderful synthesizers in front of me. I saw the ARP Odyssey, I saw the Korg MS-20, and I saw the little Moog Workstat up here, and I thought, gosh, how can I use that when I have all this wonderful stuff in front of me? So I ended up creating patches for all those guys that I just talked about. Let me just put this guy back. He's stuck. Bear with me for a second, folks. It's got a mess of cables. There we go. So I created patches on all these guys and layered them together. So let me show you how I did that. Just bear with me for a second. I'm going to mute everything and bring things in one at a time. Okay, good. So the ARP Odyssey, again, the sound that I used was mostly, I shouldn't say mostly, it was a combination of square wave and sawtooth. The sawtooth is probably at about 80% volume, and the square wave is about 100. Um, Not really too much going on in the filter section. I mean, quite frankly, it's not that complex a sound. Little portamento. Um, since I was playing the chords behind the scenes here, I really couldn't play with the vibrato like I otherwise would normally like to. But that's fine. It wasn't there in the original, so it didn't have to be there for this one. Um, but yeah, again, it's pretty wide open. There isn't a lot going on with the filter, so there isn't too much to talk about there. I didn't turn on the overdrive, so this is one of the Korg reissued ARP Odysseys. So I didn't use any overdrive here. Again, let me just bring up the chat, make sure nobody's trying to chat here. Whoops. Oh. So yeah, pretty straightforward there, but I couldn't just leave well enough alone. I had to layer in some other sounds. So I dialed up a very similar sounding sound on the MS-20. Let me unmute that. And I panned him over to the left. He's a little more detuned than the oscillators are in the ARP currently, but that's not necessarily how it was when I recorded it. I had to retune the ARP when I got down here this evening because it was way out of tune. So I don't know if that's because of the cold down here, or if it was I just knocked one of these levers at some point, or sliders. So anyway, but the MS-20 seems to have pretty much kept its tune. So because all these things are MIDI'd, I had the MIDI out on the Odyssey going to the MIDI in on the MS-20, and so now I could layer those two sounds. So it just sort of thickens things up a little bit, right? I don't know. I think it sounds good. Then from there, because I just couldn't stop there, I also layered in some of the Moog Workstat. And hold on, I'm just cleaning up some real estate here on my screen. Let me solo that guy so you can hear what he sounds like. So a little bit different texture. Again, pan to the right. Hopefully my panning is set correctly in this video. Who knows? Now you may be asking yourself, how am I able to trigger the Workstat from the Odyssey? Because again, this sound that you just heard is coming from this little box here. None of that sound is coming from the ARP Odyssey. This is the Moog Workstat. So I have a CV connection, CV out, going to a CV in on my little external patch panel that I've attached to the Workstat. And then from there, since my gate out on the Odyssey doesn't seem to be putting out enough voltage to trigger the gate on the Workstat, I've had to cheat a little bit. And what I've done is I've connected the headphone out on the Odyssey to the gate. Well, technically there isn't a gate in on the Workstat, so it's connected to the gate out on the Workstat, which I know is strange, but it actually also functions as a gate in, sorta, kinda. Just, you'll have to take my word for it. It does. See, it does. Um, so that's what these two cables are. This guy, this little yellow cable here, hopefully you can see this in the video. Um, this is going from the VCF out back to the VCF in. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a feedback loop on the filter. You can't really hear it too much with this sound, but if I crank up the resonance, you can really hear how it makes that filter scream. In fact, I'm just going to leave it like that for now, just for fun. Just really screams and breaks up, and it's a very unique sound that you can't get as easily with a lot of other synths, that don't have that sort of modularity built into them. So cool. It's cool, right? So now let's take all three of those sounds together, and it sounds something like this. So that's that. Let me kill some of that filter here and bring it back to around where it was. There we go, something like that. So again, it's I mean it's a little bit overkill layering all three of those guys together, but it does cut through the mix pretty nicely. It makes kind of a wider sound than just the Odyssey by itself. And of course, I piped those into. I used a little bit of chorus, and I don't know if I don't recall if I used any reverb on there. Probably either a little bit of reverb or a little bit of delay. Um, so again, just to give it a little bit of ambiance, I tried not to go too crazy with effects in this video. I really wanted to let the sounds sort of speak for themselves. And if I was using presets and they had effects, that's fine. They sort of are what they are. So that's the main lead sound that I used and how I generated that. Um, let's see, what else did I do? Oh, of course, there's the Mellotron sound. So let me just go ahead and mute. So I use the R3 to trigger the Mellotron sound. So I'm just going to mute his other output. Bear with me for a second. So muting the R3, muting the matrix, and muting the M1. And now let me bring the Mellotron sound online. Now I have another UVI plugin, their Mellow plugin. Oh, by the way, I misspoke earlier. The UVI workstation, that the D50-like plugin that I was using was their Digital Sensations plugin, and it was that D90S part of the Digital Sensations plugin. So I apologize. I misspoke earlier. Hey, it's live. If that's the worst thing that I do in this live stream, then I'm doing pretty well. So another UVI plugin that I have was their Mellow, or their Mellotron plugin, and it's okay. Let me play you it by itself, and you guys can hear what it sounds like. Now that they have the whole bunch of different Mellotron sounds. I like that it's true to the original Mellotron, and that after 8 seconds, that's it. You lose your sound. So that's cool. It, again, very true to the original in that regard. But that said, I don't know. I felt like there was something a bit lacking in that sound. Now, of course, you need to add a little bit of reverb to it to give it some life, give it some ambiance. But even then, I don't know. It just felt like it wasn't a very strong Mellotron sound. And I went through all of the variations that were available for that plugin, and I just none of them I thought were good enough in and of themselves. So what I did was I layered it in with a free VST that I've had for ages, and it's called TB underscore tapeworm. There were a whole bunch of these TB plugins, and Tweakbench, I think, is what they're called. And this is the Tweakbench tapeworm plugin, which is a whole bunch of Mellotron style sounds. So kind of creaky and screechy, but it does sort of evoke that stereotypical Mellotron sound that we all know and love. So what I did was I combined that with the sound from the UVI workstation from the Mellow plugin, and that led to. So, and that was close enough. That got me 95% of the way there. That was good enough as far as I was concerned. And really, when mixed in with the rest of the song, uh, it served the job pretty nicely, I thought. So, again, that little bit of shrill high end sort of cuts through the mix a little bit, and that mid range sort of fills out the sound pretty nicely. So that's almost it for the synthesizers, both real, physical, digital, analog, and virtual that I used. But there's one other one that you don't see in any of the video footage, and that is the Korg monologue. So let me turn that on. And actually, I'm not 100% prepared here. Let me get his cable connected here. So again, bear with me for a minute. This is a highly professional show that we're running here, and let's see if we can get this guy's output going here. So monologue, monologue, monologue. Yeah, here we go. Which track are you? Oh, no, you're supposed to be right here. There we go. All right. Very good. Let me just untangle some cable here. All right, very cool. So there were a few little spots where I needed uh, some additional synth after the fact, after I'd recorded all my video footage and so on and so forth. So there were a couple drones in there that I had to do. So why don't I go through? I didn't actually save any of those patches, so I think I'm going to go through and actually create those sounds or recreate those sounds for you as we speak. So I'm just going to edit and go to my program edit, and let me initialize the program. So when you do that on the monologue, it starts you off with. it's set to 0%, but we can set that to 100%. So now let me turn VCO1 down, so we should hear nothing. Yeah. So I'm going to crank up the resonance and set the cutoff kind of halfway. And you can hear a nice sine wave as a result, and it's all, it's following the pitch pretty nicely. And we just need to tune it so that its pitch is correct. So we want. So sometimes it's a little tough to tune it. So it's got to be close. Let me bring up VCO1 and tune it to VCO1. So do you hear that? It's kind of this earth-shaking bass sound. So that's how I came up with half of that drone there. And then I multi-tracked that with another sound, which I honestly don't remember it, but I think that was just, whoops. I think that was just a couple of sawtooth waves, so let me bring up VCO2. Yeah, so something like that. I might have... There we go. So I did something like that, where... How long have I been on mute? Oh gosh. Oh, I really hope I wasn't on mute that whole time. That would have been awful. And oh boy. Uh anyway, let me end with the spiel. Hopefully you guys didn't miss all that much. Um Facebook.com/the synthesizer addict. Twitter, I am at synth_addict. And you can always email me at thesynthesizeraddict@gmail.com. Boy, I hope this wasn't on mute this entire time because that would be bad. So, oh, thanks, Rick. Well, hopefully you guys were able to hear enough. I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you guys for watching, and you guys will see more videos from me soon. Thanks. Thanks a lot for watching.